right, so fellow readers, we are here to discuss She's Not Sorry. As you can see, the background is the train. We did come in the train. We are in San Juan Capistrano at a restaurant. We just had appetizers and a drink, and so we're getting ready to get into the book. I honestly don't have a lot of post-its because I was just reading. It's a thriller. I just gave you guys a summary. But yeah, let's get into it. And we hope I felt like, some of you might empathize with some of the characters. So let's get to it. Let's see.
I have to add, Lily, that one of the things that I enjoyed about this book is the way she introduces her characters. I think once we get into the book, you'll see what I mean. But she's a master of changing perspectives. Like, you hear from one character, then you hear from the other.
Yes.
And the word, empathize. We do empathize with one person, and then you hear for someone else, and you kind of empathize with that person.
Yeah.
So let's do this.
So if you read with us, great. If you haven't read and you're gonna read vicariously through us, wonderful. She's Not Sorry by Mary Kubica.
So if you have a book, we're starting with page 18, which is chapter 2.
Yes.
I mentioned, I think by now you know that Lily and I are teachers. So, and this first page, and our character is a nurse, correct?
Our main character is a nurse. I'm good. Thank you.
And I mentioned that I identify with a lot of what happens with the nurse. She says that when she leaves the hospital, she tries to leave patients behind, to not take thoughts of them with her when she goes. And it's easier said than done. And I feel like that happens to me a lot in our profession.
Yes,
teachers.
this is true.
We take, the stories of our students with us.
Yes.
And it's really hard to leave them behind when we head home.
Yeah.
So I really
think
identify with
we both
that.
had the same post-it here. We were taught in nursing school, though it's not that easy, and it's not something that can be taught to care for and about our patients, but not to let ourselves emotionally attach, because attachment, they say, leads to burnout. And yes, I'm sure, I always thought, maybe, do I want a profession where I can leave everything behind and clock out and not have to worry about work? But teaching doesn't allow you to do that. There's always, as Richard would know, there's always something to do as teachers, grading, lesson planning. But even though nurses leave the hospital behind, or their clinics, they're still thinking about the patients that are still in the hospital. So we can totally relate to what they go through. And it's hard. And is there a profession where we can do that, where we're not thinking?
Let's be real, Lily. While we were having our appetizers, we fantasized about that.
We did. Yes, we did fantasize. And
so if anybody's hiring, just let us know in the comments. And maybe
we can actually clock out and go home and read.
Yes, right? Yes, and read some more. Page 25, Lily? Or do you have something before that?
I do. Page 22. So I didn't have my pencil with me at this time. I open my arms and wrap them around, conscious of how nice it feels to be this close to something from my past. I soak it in. I hold on for a minute too long. Memories of high school surface of simpler, happier times to make me more nostalgic. I'm not sure what she's talking about, but she did marry her high school boyfriend. And she's talking about high school as like good old times, very nostalgic. And so, it's a conversation we can have. We both, you went to high school 8 years before I did.
It sounds like a long time.
It sounds like a long time.
She might be wrong on the math.
I might be wrong.
Yes.
You don't need to know what class I am.
I'm not much older than you, Lily. Come on.
However, when we think about high school as a good old, I don't know, do you feel like they were the good old time for you? I had fun in high school.
It was fun.
It was fun in high school. No cell phones, no social media, no internet. It was just actually picking up the phone. Lori will tell you, picking up the phone and calling each other, writing notes. And those are nostalgic times. Now, you talk to the high schoolers right now, they probably will say these are their good old days, or I don't know what they say, that these are their good old days. So she's talking about Ben as her ex, and how they met in high school.
And I want to say that I felt that this was a very dark book. Darkness was a very big part of it, not just because of the murder mystery component, but it feels like most characters were in a dark place, and even the setting was dark, like the hospital. I mean, clearly because of people that are there that are sick. It was just darkness everywhere.
Yeah,
it was a lot of heaviness.
Yeah.
As we will see as we go page by page, as we like to do here on this podcast.
Yes.
Where I forgot to tell you, you learn a little bit about us.
Yes.
And you learn a little bit about you.
Yes.
Page 25. I want to read this to you because it talks about marriage and divorce. Lily explained to you earlier when we were on the train, out of breath, that our protagonist, Meghan, is a divorcee. So let's see what she says about divorce. She says, when we met, Ben was a dream. We were in high school at the time, back when things like a career and children were so far in the future, we didn't think about them. They didn't exist even in our wildest imaginations. Fast forward over 20 years, I wasn't happy, Ben wasn't happy, Sienna by default wasn't happy. Ben and I fought all the time. He was so focused on work, and it upset him when I asked him to make family a priority too. Because he read that as me being insensitive is not supporting him or his career, which wasn't my intent. I just wanted Ben to pay more attention to Sienna and me. I started thinking then more and more often about how I'd be better off without him, because being alone and lonely was better than feeling neglected and ignored. But for years, fear of the unknown kept me from leaving him. The reason I finally did wasn't for me, but for Sienna, because I didn't want ours to be the model of a marriage she saw. I wanted her to know that a marriage could be full of love, happiness, and mutual respect, too. So if you want to leave us some comments about what your feelings are about marriage and divorce, we'd appreciate that. I think this long passage captured it really well.
Yeah, and actually I had to post it there also, because she said fear of the unknown is what kept her with him. And she wanted Sienna to have an example of what marriage would be, right? And, right now I'm thinking about, and Richard, last weekend we had your family over. They were in the pool, and his brother...
This is where you learn a lot about us.
Yes. His brother and his wife were there, and they were hugging and kissing in the pool. And one of his daughters said, "Space, right?" But I did mention that. But that is an example of what a marriage should be.
Yes.
Right. Those two girls, I love them to death. They are getting a good example of what a marriage should be, and I think she wanted that. But she knew they were already growing apart.
Yeah.
So what do you do in that situation? Do you stay for the children? Or, I don't know.
Well, it looks like she stayed, or they stayed because
they stayed
of
long
Sienna.
enough, right, for Sienna?
But then they realized that was a mistake. They weren't doing Sienna any favors. They weren't modeling what a good marriage looks like.
Yeah,
And again, tell us what you think.
Yes.
Go on, Lily. I'm not sure what page you're on next.
I am on page 39.
Me too.
This is funny.
Yes. We
Mental
are
health
aligned.
epidemics.
So here's some fun facts that Lily will read to you on mental health.
Yes, it says, we have had suicide attempts in the ICU before. I read a statistic once that said for every person who dies by suicide, there are 25 attempts. That fact scared me, especially when I thought of Sienna, of our family history, and the mental health crisis that is happening these days with teens. This is Meghan at the hospital talking about how Catherine, right, is in the hospital. She they allegedly attempted suicide, and she's thinking about Sienna, who's a 16-year-old, and how there are the mental health crisis with teens. And I wrote, mental health crisis with teens. And right now, when we were growing up, we grew up in the same generation. You really didn't hear about mental health.
Yeah.
At least, I don't remember, right? It wasn't that
talked
I don't
about.
know. Yeah, it just wasn't a thing back then, and I feel like now you hear more and more about it with teens. We're not. I mean, this is a podcast. You will see us on Instagram and YouTube, but ironically, we're not on social. Besides this, we're not on social media.
True.
And I feel like now kids have been growing up on social media, so I question. Let us know what your thoughts are. How much of that is attributed to social media?
Good point. You're right. Did it really grow? Or is it just being talked about more? It's probably a combination of both, right?
Yeah.
But that's for the social scientists to figure out.
Yeah.
Definitely a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
44.
44.
So on page 44, Sienna, I think her friend is Gianna. So Gianna says that a person can be both pretty and smart. And I just thought that was interesting, right? Is it really, is that true? What do you think, dear reader?
Can you be pretty and smart? I think so.
I'd like to throw a couple of names out there of women that were both pretty and smart. Have you heard of Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz, Mexican writer? Do a little bit of research. Pretty and smart. Hedy Lamarr. We have the internet because of the actress Hedy Lamarr. Take a look at her picture somewhere online. Those are just two people off the top of my head that I thought were very pretty and very smart. Not just pretty and smart. Page 52. At the bottom of page 52, I said something about a body without a soul. That's her, she says, pointing at the photo. That's Caitlyn. I wanted you to know what she looks like, she says. I know, of course, what she looks like. I can see that for myself. But what she means is that she wants me to see what she looks like without all the gauze and tubes which mask half her face while the rest is swollen and bruised. And it's true. That picture that she sees brings Caitlyn to life, even though she's technically not, she's just looking at a picture.
Yeah.
And what a body, in this case, a comatose body looks like without a soul. It's such a interesting contrast.
Yeah.
On page 53, I wrote about the younger child, how the youngest child in a family is seen. I guess the word is stereotype. Mrs. Beckett, Caitlyn's mother, talks about Caitlyn being the typical youngest child, outgoing, attention-seeking, charming, creative. If you were to ask others, they'd say that Caitlyn was Thompson, my favorite. I guess the question for you, dear reader, is, do you believe that stereotype? I'm the oldest in the family, and I do have a younger sister, and I'd have to say that
three younger sisters.
But the youngest, I would have to say, fits that stereotype of charming and creative, outgoing. So I just wonder if that's the case for all younger children in families.
And I wonder, I'm a twin sister. We're the youngest. Who's the favorite?
Right?
I would say I was the favorite.
Right? I'll go with that, even though I'm not the youngest. I just...
But you know what? Speaking to parents, do they have a favorite? Right? I mean, you have two kids.
Oh, gosh. Don't put me on the spot.
No, I'm not. But you know what? Okay, well,
I have a favorite daughter and a favorite son.
I love
that.
You go. I love that. But as teachers, they... Not gonna lie, there's always favorite students. But the secret is not showing them who your favorite is.
It's true.
And I guess that's the way for parents too. You always have that favorite, but you don't want to show. They all have different qualities.
It's a different kind of favorite.
It's a different favorite.
Don't start with that, Lily.
You're
don't
right.
Start that. Yeah, we don't want to mess with that.
No, don't get into arguments.
I have to say that my daughter is also like that. She's the youngest, and she's also outgoing, charming, and creative. So as far as I know, in two cases, I guess it does prove to be true. So it's interesting to hear this about Caitlyn, because we don't, up to this, we're on page 50. Yeah. We are getting to meet Caitlyn through the eyes and the descriptions that others are giving us of her. We don't know her. And boy, are we in for a surprise. Woo. Right?
Wait for it.
Page 54. Oh. She doesn't like to have her picture taken. She's at an age where she scrutinizes every photo of her I take. None is ever good enough. She zooms in on the image until every pixel is magnified, and then she comes up with some reason not to like it. Her hair, her smile, the particular angle of her head. And I have to say, is that what we all do when we take a picture?
This is true.
Be honest.
Yes.
Be honest.
Do that.
Delete until I get the right one.
Or don't take a picture of me.
Yes. Let's just avoid it altogether.
So, needless to say, starting this podcast was very hard for us.
Yes, it really was, because we're in front of you and in front of the camera. On page 55, Lily,
I have something too.
You have something, but you might have it a little bit before so go for it.
This was talking about having multiple kids, and I think she's talking about friends that have multiple kids, and using up their weekends for their extracurricular activities, right? They were full of things. Something about giving up your life.
Yes, let me help you. Raising children is more work than anyone imagines. Mm-hmm. It is true. I don't think anybody is really prepared as much as you prepare. Mm-hmm. And that is, I agree, it's more work. Whether it's work you enjoy or not is another story. But it's definitely a lot of work.
Yeah.
We can agree on that.
Yeah, and I think I wrote giving up weekends. Mm-hmm. I have a friend who has 4 kids, and they're each playing sports. They each have practice. They each have games. And their husband and wife, mom and dad, have to divide and conquer. Mm-hmm. Who takes who where? Where's their me time?
Would we be able to do this podcast if we had young children? Perhaps not.
Perhaps not. So,
I mean,
moral of the story. Moral of the story. Don't
think it through. Think it through.
Don't have kids. Or think it through. Think about it.
I think you really need to know, right, what you're getting yourself into, and it's a time, I think, to reflect. That's, I guess, what we're trying to say.
Yeah. And you know, am I selfish? Are we selfish for thinking like this?
Yes. And how
it's okay to be selfish. I'm selfish.
How much of yourself do you give up? Yes. And do you have to give all of yourself up?
You shouldn't, because there should be a balance. And we've talked about that, right?
Yes.
We know, like your sister Lori, childhood best friend, she loves reading, but she likes reading, but doesn't have the time to read.
Yes.
And so us being bibliophiles,
spell it out, Richard.
Yeah, spell it out. What is bibliophiles? We find the time to read. Me, I read at night, and to me, it baffles me when people say I don't have time to read.
Make time for what you love. I guess that's what we're trying to say.
Make time for what you love. Yeah.
Don't sacrifice it.
Don't sacrifice it. No, don't.
Page 61.
61.
I just wanted to share a fun fact. The stats on nurses. In the middle of the page, we meet Luke. Luke is the only male nurse in that wing.
Okay.
Out of I don't know how many, but let's talk about Luke. Luke is almost always upbeat. He's one of the 2 male nurses on staff, so 2, which is typical. Only something like 12 or 14% of nurses are men. Though contrary to popular belief, he's not gay. You don't have to be gay to be a male nurse. So I just thought that was interesting. I've noticed, I mean, I don't spend a lot of time in hospitals.
Yeah.
But when we do go, I think we've noticed that there's a majority of women. Yeah. So I thought that was a fun fact. And again, we'll see more of Luke, and be ready. Like, you will be surprised.
Be ready for
how Luke ends up.
Very charismatic.
Yes, for sure. Another shocker in the book.
Yes.
67?
Oh, the same.
But I'm before you.
Oh, you are.
The overs. At the top of the page, somebody smiled widely for the picture. Oh, yes, I remember now. This is a scene where Sienna, Meghan, and Ben are taking a picture. And she basically talks about how perfect they look in this picture. But she tells us the backstory. And how on social media people post, these great moments, but we don't know the backstory to this moment. So think about the pictures you post. We don't have social media.
No.
But think about what
This is our social media.
But it's like we don't have our own personal pages.
Yeah. You don't need to know about me.
Yes, exactly.
I'll tell you about me if I want you to.
Yeah, well, yeah, because in this
We're about
podcast,
books.
you learn about a little bit, just a little bit about us, not everything. So I'm going to read so that you can see where I'm coming from. So Ben smiled widely for the picture, the tree in the background giving off perfect holiday vibes. He'd gone so far as to snatch Sienna's Santa hat from her head for the photo and put it on his. And I remember how friends' comments all praised Ben. He's so funny. Love the hat, Ben. Oh my God, he's too cute. Though he couldn't get it off fast enough when the moment was through. He'd handed it back to Sienna and then turned and walked away, hands in his pockets, 3 steps ahead. And I was grateful for the way Sienna looped around her arm around mine and walked with me, though she shouldn't have had to do that. So basically, she's saying he was there for that moment, just for the picture, and then he ignored them the rest of the night. And people don't know that part.
Yeah, Ben is her ex-husband.
Mm-hmm.
And she's talking about, like, it portrays that they're like a perfect, great family. Yeah. But only they know what actually happened. Mm-hmm. And following that, I have something. The truth is that social media is an optical illusion. It's an unreality. It's the very deliberate version of people's lives that they want you to see. Mm-hmm. And I felt like that is so true. And it was it kind of to me, it cemented the idea of what social media is if it's used the wrong way. Like, we don't have it, but I don't want to offend anybody, but people that have it, some people use it to share about their families, share about where they are, and that's great and stuff. But then there's some that you're like, is that really real? Is that really happening? And
and be honest, dear reader. I mean, maybe you want to comment on this, on what your thoughts are. Is everything you post a real reflection of your life? Or is it a version that you want to portray? And I don't know. I think that's what's kept me away from social media all this time because I think it takes a lot of energy to maintain it.
Yeah, no, for sure.
78?
That image, 78.
On page 78, I wrote that teens are exhausting. I work with teens. At the bottom of the page, she says, she's talking about her daughter, and she says, it's a teen thing, the lack of motivation, the poor time management, but the subtle changes in her behavior are becoming more apparent all the time. So I had to say something, she's irritable, her grades slip, they go up, they go down. And Meghan is a single mom, and she's getting tired. She doesn't know how to handle her daughter, and I really empathized with her because I work with a lot of teens, and I do feel that is true. Do you have a teen? What do you think?
Right? Is it hard? Do you have 2? That's even harder.
Yes, for sure. 89?
89. Yeah, I have a dry spell here.
Okay, so on 89, again, we're teachers, and I made a comment about how we should apply this to teaching. Meghan is talking. She says, it's rewarding. I like to help people. I leave it at the house as a rule. I don't talk to my patients outside of work. Other nurses do. So how much do we share, right, when we're at work? Yeah. And how we should leave our home life at home. Yeah. And again, it's very hard in our professions to draw these boundaries. Yeah. Just like we take a lot of what we see at school home and carry the stories of our students with us, and sometimes literally the grading and the work they produce. Yeah. At the same time, we should also be careful with what we take from home to school. Yeah. And that is something that Meghan reflects on. That she's surprised that for the first time in her career, I don't remember how many years she's been a nurse, but she's connecting a lot with Caitlin. And again, another plot twist.
We'll find out.
That you will find out if you haven't already read the book.
She's connecting with the parents also because Caitlin's parents are there. She's assigned to Caitlin at some point, and at first she's like, wait, why me? Where's so-and-so? Well, that other nurse that she had her first is on. She has a day off. So Meghan has to be in charge of her, and the parents are there, and she's trying to talk to them and comfort them as best as she can. So she's connecting to this patient that she has been assigned to, and we'll see why, right?
Yes.
why she connects and why
Yes.
she's still there.
Are you counting the plot twist, dear reader?
I mean, really, there's quite a few.
I think we're on number 3, but I
Yes.
might lose track because there's too many.
There's a lot at the end.
I'm on page 90, Lily. Almost no high school relationships last. It was naive to think ours would be different. Did you know Ben in high school? So Ben and Meghan are talking about their marriage and how it didn't survive. And so I was curious about stats on this. And I did some research. Honestly, I should have written where I got my information from. I forgot. Sorry. But, you can dig further if you'd like. 2% of high school sweethearts marry. I thought it was 2%. And 54% last after 10 years.
Yikes.
Yeah. Yikes. Yes. So.
Sorry, high schoolers.
Exactly.
54 of you are.
So if you're a high school
will
sweetheart,
make it.
good luck.
That's funny.
Many blessings to
Well,
you.
And let me tell you why I think that
Yes.
I believe that. So, Richard, our cameraman, or my husband, we're not high school sweethearts. We were in high school together. I did ask him to go to Sadie Hawkins with me, right? We both, yes, he's there. Is he? However, we didn't date while we were in high school. We came across each other again. I know the irony on social media.
There you go.
You know, almost 20 years after high school. But we both agreed, had we dated back in high school, we wouldn't have made it because we are two different people now. So I can see where the stats are coming from and why people change,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
When you're a teenager or, 18, 19, adult, are you really an adult? Are you really that mature, right? So circumstances change, your person, I feel like you change as a person. So I can totally see that.
Yes.
Yeah, great stats, by the way. Great
I thought that was very interesting. Page 98.
98.
So on page 98, this italicized sentence caught my eye. You can't save them all.
No.
She's talking about her patients and how you have to accept that. So I couldn't help but relate with my students. I can't save them all. And how many is too many? I mean, in nursing, it's lives, like literal lives, right?
Yeah.
Life or death. In teaching, not so much so. I mean, the loss is reflected in failure, I guess, not passing a class, not learning a lesson, not, moving on to the next grade. So it's not as, I don't want to say serious, but I guess, it's not a life or death matter, but it's still hard for us as teachers to measure that.
Yeah.
How many is too many?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to throw it out there.
Well, and you will have some that do make an impact, and I'm sure as your high school students, they do remember you. They will remember that teacher that said something.
Good memory, hopefully.
Good memories, hopefully. I mean, I had one student. I'm a kindergarten teacher. When I first started, I was in preschool. 2 or 3 years ago, he came to say hi, and he was already graduating from high school, and I was like,
oh, wow.
First of all, a reminder how old I am. And I was like, he still remembered me. And so that was big. I don't remember my kindergarten teacher. Do you remember?
I don't
Right?
actually either.
To go back.
So that is big. I agree with you, Lena.
What we do, every day, we gotta. It was a reminder of we're impressionable. What we do will impact their lives, and hopefully
for the best.
For the best.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Page 102. How can we have a healthy balance? I asked at the bottom of the page. Her optimism scares me a little. That feeling that bad things happen to other people and not her. And this is Meghan talking to her daughter, Sienna. This is when they are afraid of that serial killer that is wandering the streets, that is murdering women. And Sienna doesn't think that it'll impact them, even though it's happening in their city. Lily mentioned earlier.
In their neighborhood.
Yeah, in their neighborhood, yes. And my question was, how can we have a healthy balance? Like, it's not okay to live in fear, right?
No.
But at the same time, you want to move along with your life and do the things that you need to do and go where you need to go without living in fear.
Yes.
So I think this is just a reminder, find a healthy balance.
Yeah.
Then in page 129, I wrote about female safety. at the top of the page, there is no end to the number of rules women are supposed to follow at night regarding their safety. Be observant. Stay off your phone. Adjust your routine so you don't always take the same route. Wear comfortable shoes that you can run in and carry mace or a Swiss Army knife. Or better yet, don't walk alone at night, especially if you've been drinking, because alcohol lowers your awareness and your reaction time and makes you an easy target. And yet men can do any damn thing they like and it's fine.
Yeah.
Come on. It's true.
That's true.
I do have the spray.
Do you have the mace?
My daughter has it.
Richard got me one, and I never.
I carry it.
I should carry it.
The mace spray.
Mace spray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, I've never had to
wear
use
safe shoes.
Yes.
Don't wear these at night.
Yes, because, and again, going back to what I just said, do we live in paranoia, or is this just awareness? Like, yes, be aware.
And so, so when we were growing up, we didn't have the social media to tell us that. It was just the news. So is there more because of what is showing up on our phones?
True.
Is there more paranoia because of that?
Because we're finding out, there's more information out there.
Yeah.
146. I wrote about the value of our material possessions. On page 146 towards the top, I'm just relieved you're okay, I say, though the luggage is hard to ignore. Oh, so this is when Meghan's high school acquaintance, I forgot her name, Lily, comes to stay with them. Nat? Okay. Comes to stay with her because she apparently is a victim of domestic violence or domestic abuse. And Meghan has decided to give her some temporary shelter. And she shows up with her luggage. And, my question to you is like, what would you pack? What would you take? She's leaving her home and she shows up with this duffel bag and, your life's worth is there. So what do we take with us when we have to leave?
Right? Like that.
Yeah.
And by this time, she ran across Nat. She seeks her out. She just happens to come across her, right, in the city a few times.
Yeah.
And it's via Facebook. They don't even have each other's phone number, right?
That's right.
They was via Facebook.
They were messaging each other via Facebook.
And by the time she got here to her apartment, she found her at the entrance of a restaurant, and she's like, "Are you okay?" Because she was supposed to message her that she had gone to her friend's house, who she was staying with, and she never did. So Meghan spends a few nights thinking, "Is she okay? What happened?" She's, so she's really trying to be a good friend for her, or friend or acquaintance, because it's not someone she really knows that well. And yet she opens her doors to her, right? And
even though she hasn't seen her in 20 years or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And then, would you do that?
I don't know. That is a good question.
Would you do that to someone who...
Someone you know in high school.
Someone who came to you and said, "Oh, you're so-and-so, remember me? I
don't know if I would do that, honestly, because I know that she talks about this and thinks, well, I'm also exposing Sienna to this woman.
Yes,
but I guess when you see somebody that is so vulnerable, maybe you don't see them as a threat. And again, another plot twist.
We'll get there.
Yes. But she did it. She lets her in. On page 147, I commented on how different Nat is from what she remembers her from high school. And, you realize how much a person can change when they're a victim of domestic violence. My memories of Nat from high school have faded over the years. She was fun-loving, easygoing, with an infectious smile. She was the captain of our tennis team. She was a leader. People looked up to her. Now she seems practically meek, and I hate that man that did this to her. He changed her very essence. We've talked about domestic abuse before in the books that we've discussed. And yes, being exposed to it can change your personality drastically. Although we're going to learn that Nat was quite the actress, right? Another plot twist. 149. Yeah. I wrote DV education at the bottom. The last paragraph, that's what men like him do. It's a form of entrapment, Nat. It's one of the many reasons women stay in relationships like yours or keep returning to an abusive spouse for money, shelter, because there is a very real fear of being homeless or broke.
Mm-hmm.
You were brave to walk away from him. But now we need to figure out your finances. We need to get you what's rightfully yours. You need to file for a divorce. It seems like there's a long to-do list when you decide to leave a man. And I've learned that the hardest part is leaving. Once the woman leaves, the chances of her staying away are greater. But that's the hardest decision to make, to actually leave. For all the reasons we just listed.
Yeah.
167? So I have some statistics on abuse here. I'm not mad, but I am sad. My heart hurts for her. I read a statistic once that said that the average person goes back to an abuser 7 times before leaving for good. Well, there you go, 7 times. So even if they leave, there's a very...
And at one point, Meghan does question, well, what number is this for Nat? Is this the first time? Is this the second time? Is this the third time?
Oh, yeah, we don't even know that, yes.
And you don't know, and she's still trying to find ways on how to help her and how to open up your own bank account, because apparently everything
was under his name.
Goes to his bank account. Yeah, so he's controlling her. Yeah.
On page 172, we learn another secret. There's another plot twist. We learned that Sienna is not Ben's biological daughter. She confesses that she took Ben's toothbrush and Sienna's hair to get them tested because she wondered if that was her. Remind me, Lily, she had a fling.
She did. They had an argument right before their wedding, and she was at a bar and she met a guy, and well, they were already like calling off the wedding because something, for whatever reason, it was an argument, and they even called the venue to see if they can get their money back. They couldn't get their deposit back, and so she met this guy and slept with him.
At a bar, I think. Yeah,
at a bar, and then the next day Ben came over and said, "Oh, I'm sorry," and wedding was back on. But the math didn't, like, it added up to where Sienna's actually this stranger's one-night stand daughter. And she proved it. She had the DNA tested.
So she took Ben's DNA, Ben's hair, toothbrush, or whatever, but she kept the secret. She figured, what's the point of telling him, like, he loves her as a daughter.
Yeah. But the reason why we know is because she's opening up to Nat. Yes. Because she felt like, well, Nat is opening up to me. I should open up to her now. When I heard that, I'm like, you're stupid. Why would you? Because that is a secret. You obviously have been holding on to that. Whether, you decide, was it okay to keep it from Ben or not? That was up to Meghan, right? At that point, everybody was fine. But why open that up and tell a complete stranger?
I think that what's happening here, and this is where I go back to the darkness of the book, like the heaviness. I think she was very vulnerable, very fragile. Meghan. She really didn't have friends. I mean, she doesn't really didn't. I mean, there's Luke, but she's very guarded with Luke because he's a married man. And she doesn't want to create problems with his wife. So she doesn't really talk about having friends. So it's almost like she was carrying the secret and she just needed to unload.
She needed to vent.
Like you said, she picked the wrong person. Page 190. Here I wrote, who do we believe, Caitlyn's roommate or parents? Lily read the book more recently than I. Maybe she has a better recollection. I know that we hear a story from the parents, and then Caitlyn's roommate shows up to the hospital and reveals information about Caitlyn's parents, which is very different from what the parents have told Meghan. Do you remember what she learned?
Caitlyn moved to California, right? She wanted to be an actress. From Chicago, she moved to California. And when the parents showed up, because they were notified that she was at the hospital because she tried to commit suicide, they even said, we didn't even know she was in town, let alone that she was living here for a bit, right? For a while. she had a roommate. The roommate shows up, and in the ICU, there's glass doors, there's glass windows. She can see the interaction with the parents, and Catherine, as they're looking at her, doting on her, kind of crying over her, and she's like saying, "Don't believe what you see. That's not who they are." Caitlin hated her parents, and then you wonder, like, where is this going to turn to, right? Like, because at one point the brother shows up.
Yes,
brother shows up, and kind of lied about when he came into town. He was supposed to be in London. He said he came this weekend or just got there, but actually was there longer, is what Meghan found out. She tells this to the police, like, he was actually here longer than what he said he was. And he seems very nonchalant about the situation of her sister being there, kind of like pushing the investigation,
testing the waters,
towards him. And then there's a roommate that shows up and says they're not the parents that they
want you to, that are making you believe they are.
Yeah. So you start to question the people around Caitlin's life. After that, we don't really see the roommate anymore, but it does make you start, right?
And kudos to the author, because I felt like she did a really good job of, it's like, okay, who do I believe now? I heard this person's story and I believe them. Now I'm hearing the roommate and I believe the roommate. And I felt like I kept doing that throughout the book while I was reading. Like, who, just when you start empathizing with this comatose woman, you're like, maybe she really is the villainess.
Yeah,
the horrible
you don't
daughter
know. Yes.
that the roommate says.
Yeah.
And that back and forth was what did one of the reviewers say here? That it gives you whiplash. I mean, it really
does, because you're like, wait,
really,
what?
Yes, you're like, what? Many
What's
times.
happening?
214?
214, me too. Araceli, me too.
Yes, we are right there.
Yes.
Let me start, and then if you want to add something, I put accurate. When do they lose their love for learning? I work the teachers in us. Nat's Nat's nurse. Oh, supposedly Nat is a nursery school teacher, and she talks about students arriving with their parents and nannies before coming into school, laughing into the building, happy to be at school. Quite unlike at CNS High School, where the students smoked in, tired and crabby. So we've told you she works with the littles, and I work with the teenagers, and I thought that was very accurate. Yes, shared that.
Yes, and it's true. We get the little ones that are happy to come in. They're jumping in, and they're smiling. And then I put LOL because it made me think of Araceli. She's the one that sees them moping in,
glued to their screens. Yes, not interested in interacting.
So we definitely related to that right there. Yeah.
217 at the very top. I just wrote that at this point in the reading, I think Nat scammed. Scammed who? Oh, the 10K. Oh. So let's remember, and so the book starts.
Yes.
Tell us, Lily.
Yeah, the book started with Meghan receiving a phone call from her daughter's phone. But it turns out it was a man on the voice saying, "Do as I say or your daughter will die." So there's a kidnapping right off the bat. But then it goes back. And so now we know it goes back into that section.
To
now
build
we understand
towards that, right?
Yeah. And now we know that she actually did receive a phone call, and the caller says, "Wire me $10,000 or she will die," right? As a mom, though,
you do it.
You do it, right?
That's
and so she's standing there in the store. Customers are like, "Are you okay?" And she's just like wiring it because she has 5 minutes, I think, to do it, and she does it. And then it was like, okay, where is she? Because she does have a tracker on her phone, and she realizes she's at school this whole time.
Yeah.
She goes to the school. Sienna's okay. Sienna was not kidnapped. Sienna's okay. Cops are there, and they're like, "How do I get my money back?" And they're like, "Unfortunately, there's a way where hackers make it seem they're actually, it's so whatever they do."
She said she heard her voice.
She heard her voice.
Yeah,
she heard her voice, and it says, they just make it's a recording or whatever it may be.
Whatever they do with whatever technology they use.
So she's relieved. Her daughter's okay, but now she's down $10,000. And she's wondering, especially because of the kidnappings and the rapes, or whatever's happening with the city at that current time. She's like, "Oh my gosh, my daughter," she's safe though. We know that she's safe. But that's how it started.
Mm-hmm.
Moving forward though, this is where everything starts to unravel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. Let me see. What do you have next? Because I don't want to say.
I think, yeah, like you said, everything starts to unravel. We discovered Nat is a scammer.
Yes.
She really wasn't a victim of domestic violence. She was using the image of some guy she found online,
Yes.
To portray that this was her husband, but
Yes.
it really wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So she basically came into, and it seems like she does this a lot, came into Meghan's life with that intent to find out information about her, to take money from her.
Yeah.
Which and so at this point, and was it her? I can't even remember. It was her, right?
I think it was her. It was her because. So we learned that. So after she opens the door to Nat to save her, and then she's like, "Oh, my daughter's at a concert with her dad. She's gonna come and she's gonna be with her, and that's gonna be awkward because they're gonna see each other for the very first time. But I'm gonna be at work," is what Meghan's thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But then she realizes Sienna's home and Nat is gone. Her things are gone, and she's like, "Where did she go?" So she's searching for her on Facebook. Her stuff is gone. Everything's deleted.
Mm-hmm.
She goes to her job to look for her. Gone. She goes to find the husband to the office, the law firm where he works at. There's no such person that works there.
Yeah.
So she's putting everything together, and she even contacts another high school friend.
Oh, that's true.
That they went to school together, and she realizes, and she said, "Have you heard from Nat? She was here."
Oh yeah.
And she said she died a few years after graduation. So she does look it up, and it turns out she did die.
Mm-hmm.
So who is this stranger playing
Impersonating
the part?
her,
Impersonating, pretty much. So at this point, she knows.
Yeah.
She's been lied to.
Taken advantage of.
And I think this is when she puts together that she's probably the one that stole the $10,000. Yeah. Identity theft and all that. Yeah. So that was a plot twist that we weren't expecting. And how sad. You open up your doors to someone who thinks you're going to help, and then they take advantage of you.
Like this was bad, yeah.
Yeah.
But we will see more of Nat.
Yes.
264. I just wrote that this reminded me of Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart. It's Meghan, I think, talking about what she says that her heart is thumping, thump, 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 thump. I have to pull the sheet back to see that she is dead and that she's really dead. So Meghan is now with Caitlin.
Yes.
And she tried to kill her. Lily, tell us why the nurse is trying to kill the patient.
Yes. So we're going to go back. So it turns out that Meghan finds out it was Nat, the one that, so going back a little bit, her ex-husband has a girlfriend who happens to be Nat. Nat is the one that finds out all this information and tries to impersonate another high school friend to get into her house because she's jealous. She stole from her the $10,000. She stole her wedding ring.
When she was in the house staying with her.
Yeah, and Meghan's coming out of somewhere, and she sees her across the street and is like going after her, calling her name, and she starts running. And while they're by the bridge, they start arguing and talking. And she does confront. She does say, pretty much she does say it was her. She does,
admit to it.
Yeah, she does. And she's trying to take she takes the ring away from her, I think, right? She takes, because she's wearing it. Like, how dare her wear the ring? Like, how dare you? She pushes her off the bridge. And that is how we know Caitlin did not try to commit suicide. Someone did push her off, like the police had said, and it's her.
The nurse that's been taking care of her the whole time that we thought.
Yes, she's the one that pushed her off the bridge. And now the next day she goes in and she's assigned to that patient. And that's why there was that hesitation and the guilt, right?
Yes.
But knowing, if you really read the book, you will see all the details, knowing everything that she did to her. I don't know. I would have pushed her off the bridge too, because
Yes.
Because of everything she did to her. Oh, because, let me tell you why. She opened up to her, said the secret to her. She was going to say, she was going to tell Ben.
But
Sienna's not your daughter.
Didn't she tell Sienna?
She told Sienna.
Yes,
she told the daughter. The daughter at this point knows she's not her dad's daughter. But can you imagine it going over to the...
Well, and I think the other things that Meghan starts learning about Caitlyn is that she was a horrible daughter, right?
Yeah.
She was, I forget what she did to her parents, but she was just a very challenging daughter. And that was part of the reason why she left, because they wouldn't give her what she wanted. Oh, she accused her mom.
She accused her mom of abuse, right?
Yes, and her mom lost her teaching job.
Yeah.
Because she was investigated for a lie that her own daughter made up about her. She either punished a school mate or something like that.
Yeah.
So she was just a master manipulator.
Yeah.
That was the kind of person Caitlyn was.
So you're like, she deserved it.
Yeah. And she also did something else to a former boyfriend that was coming after her. And I believe that it was thought that he might have been the one that was murdering all these women. Yes,
initially.
And he was also very traumatized by Caitlyn's behaviors.
Because he went to jail for it.
Because of what...
She planted stuff on his computer and actually didn't happen.
Oh, that's true.
He lost his restaurant.
Family,
he lost his family, went to jail for it. So she did a lot. She did a lot. And so now we know she's there watching over her. But Caitlyn is opening her eyes now.
Yeah,
she's coming to. And she's like, uh-oh, she's going to say it was me.
Yeah.
She decides to get an insulin syringe from another patient because she knows that a certain dosage might kill her. And she doesn't.
She figures she'll just say she was confused and she will lose her nursing license, but at least she won't go to jail for murder.
Yeah, or keep the secret pretty much is what she wanted to do. Keep the secret of it coming out. Going to murder, right?
Well,
going to
she
jail for murder.
Yeah, she threw her,
She pushed her off the bridge. Yeah. And so that's where she's at. There's, like you said, the Edgar Allan Poe, that telltale heart, like thump, thump, thump. There's, and you feel the anxiety. I'm like, oh my God, they're going to find out she's the one doing it.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, is that actually going to happen? And she actually dies.
Yeah.
It was a lethal dose of insulin.
I didn't, the whole time you're like, is she going to go through with it? Like, she's not
a mean person.
Yeah, she's not a murderess. No, she acted out of necessity. I mean, it was kind of an accident because they're, fighting over the ring or whatever. But then
very impulsive.
But this time it's like calculated. Like you're actually
that's true. She thought about it. It wasn't impulsive. Yeah, she thought about it.
She planned it out. So, and she does it. And on page 267, she did it. She killed her. And then she leaves the building and she says, I walk slowly home. My guilt starts to get the better of me. My conscience screaming. I feel transparent, like anyone could look at me and know what I've done. So how do you live with this is my question. Like now she has this knowledge. Whether or not she gets away with it, how will she live the rest of her life knowing that she killed a person for the second time? But this time it was final, right?
How
do you live with
the same person, really. Attempted murder, and this time actually happened. And on page 268A, I have trying to make herself feel better. And she wrote, I did everyone a favor. I did what I had to do. And she's justifying her actions by saying, I had to do it. I did everybody a favor. It had to be done because of how bad she was.
And by everybody, she means her parents,
her brother, herself, just
that other man. I don't remember his name.
She ruined a lot of lives, and at this point, she was on the verge of ruining Ben's life too by telling him she's not your daughter. Can you imagine what that would do to him? 16 years later, knowing that that's not your daughter.
And she used Ben too, right?
She used Ben. Yeah, she did. She did. She was just jealous, and that's what I wrote. Just she was trying to make herself better and feel better about it, but nothing you do or say is gonna.
Right? Yeah. I mean, murder is murder.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, Lily said that she would have done the same thing, but she's just kidding.
I would not.
She doesn't have a murderous streak in her.
I would not have done it. I don't know what I would have done, but I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't let an old high school friend into my house if I don't know her.
Exactly. Lesson learned. Yes.
Lesson learned.
Don't just open your doors to anyone. My final post-it is on page 307.
Okay.
This is where we discover the serial killer is Luke. And I'll just read some fun facts here about serial killers. Meghan reflects on when she was in college and she took a class on criminal justice. And she learned about serial killers and sexual predators. They come across as relatively normal, meaning you won't know it to look at them, and that there probably isn't anything in their everyday life that suggests they're predators. Usually they have normal jobs, families, wives, kids, etc. So I thought that was an interesting fun fact, right? Yeah. It's not like they're going to walk around with a gun and a knife or whatever.
Yeah,
there comes the serial killer. No.
Yeah.
They and I mean, I don't know about you, but I was surprised. And Luke. I was like, what? Luke, he was the nicest guy.
Nicest guy.
So empathetic of her needs, he was always there for her.
Yeah.
Supportive.
Yeah.
And to find out that he was a serial killer, I was very surprised.
Yeah. So there was a few plot twists, and to wrap it up.
Yeah, to wrap it up.
So Caitlin's a nurse, taking care of. No, Megan's a nurse. Megan's a nurse. Caitlin is the patient who jumped off the bridge, but really didn't, because Caitlin is the one that pushed her because she impersonated a high school friend and stole money from her, stole her ring from her, who was her ex-husband's girlfriend, and was very jealous of her. Sienna is a 16-year-old who, she's a teenager, right? Has met the girlfriend. Also, the girlfriend, Nat, told Sienna, Ben is not your dad. Got upset, wrote a note to her mom.
Oh, that's right.
Remember that? Wrote a note to her mom and was doing stuff to her mom where her mom was kind of like weirded out, because who's sending me these notes with, saying these things to me? Who wants to lock me up in the basement? Because that actually happened, where she was freaking out. Somebody was following her. They get into an argument because she confronts her and says, you kept that from me.
Yeah.
Caitlin, Meghan leaves to go have a drink with Luke because Luke says, my wife is mad at me again. She's on bed rest, but she's mad at me. Come have a drink with me. So she does. It's her coworker. Why would she think anything bad about it? Then she receives a phone call as they're having a drink from the wife, Penelope, from Luke's wife, and says, the cops are here. They're looking for him because they suspect he is the one committing these
murders,
rapes.
Yeah.
Luke had already seen that she was getting, that Meghan was getting missed calls from a number that he recognized was his wife, so he knew something was up. Leaves, knows at this point that Meghan's daughter Sienna is in the apartment by herself, goes over there, takes her because it's someone she knows and trusts. At the end, we know that the cops do kill Luke. But yeah, good book. Lots of what's going on. She did a really good job about bringing it all together, layering the characters. Yeah, no, it was very, very intense at the end. I was like, where is it going? I'm waiting for that. And it happened all at the same time.
It happened all at once. Everywhere, all at once.
Yes, all at once.
Our first experience with Mary Kubica.
Kubica, yeah. So
highly recommend it.
So if it's something you want to really go into the details, I recommend it. It's a good one.
And again, to remind you, we're here next to the train station.
The restaurant is called The Station. Good drinks.
Yes.
Good food.
And we brought you here because Meghan and Sienna live in an apartment in Chicago, and they're on the second floor, and they live next to the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
And they talk about how they feel the movement, and they're so used to it. And so when we were trying to get creative with a location, because that's part of the fun of our book club, where will our book take us next? That is why we brought you here, and it's been quite the journey.
Yeah, and we're not done.
Yes,
we're still
exploring. Yes, maybe we'll show you a little bit of that.
Yes.
But before we go, we would like to talk to you about the next book. We are reading Heartwood. Lily suggested this one because it's kind of the hot topic right now, right, Lily?
I suggested that one.
Yes,
Or you did.
No, you did. She did.
Yes, because it says something about a bestseller. It's a newer book. It's a bestseller, a must-read, according to this person right here.
And we will be taking you to a park here in Southern California where there are redwoods.
Yes.
And we will tell you more about that when we get there.
Yeah.
Because this book takes place, it's actually a hike that this woman takes, and she's missing, and everybody's looking for her. So read with us so we can find her, hopefully.
Yes.
See you in a couple of weeks. Looking forward to it. Read the book, please. Until next time.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.
You want to say it? You say it, Lee.
We just want to give a quick shout out to the station, the restaurant here at San Juan Capistrano by the train station. They allowed us to move around, do our podcast here, and serve us wonderful drinks and food. So thank you very much.
Highly recommended.
Yes.
Make sure you come.
Recommended, yes.